Hands
angle
from
there,
Nathan,
nice,
big
nice
left
kick.
Here comes Jordan,
Jordan come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, your boys are back on your favourite bi-weekly podcast here. How are you, Hugh?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going all right.
How's the long weekend been?
Oh, yeah, the Kings weekend, mate. It's
weekend.
Yeah, it is for Kings, you know?
It
Feel
is.
like so.
You're absolutely right. What's been happening? What have you been doing with your
Oh,
weekend time? What's the update?
Yeah, like just Jim's just busy at the moment, Boston. Really,
It
really
looks
get after
pumping
it.
up here, actually.
Yeah, man. Like on Saturday, actually, I had a couple boys doing the boxing. That was good.
Oh, yeah. How'd they go?
Yeah, so like Jason, he had a couple chops and changes from there. So I was on Huss's show as well, like final round.
Oh, he's a good
that
dude.
went after a couple. Yeah,
He's a good dude.
I'm always got
I've
time for
not
Huss.
spoken to him for a good while, yeah.
But it's like, just had a couple of changes, and that's just how amateur boxing is.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being an exo, so that's okay. And then I had Harry on as well, first time doing it. And like, I had a decent show and took a loss though. But it was one of those ones where you go, like at the end of the fight, you go, yeah, it's not as easy as look, is it? You know, you think you're prepped, but but he took home some good experience for that. And if he has the next one, he's like, just knows how to kind of probably aim his focus a little bit more as well.
And for the listeners' sake, because I tend to harp on about myself a lot on here, we mostly talk about Thai boxing, but of course that's you taking two amateur boxers to fight. So what's the competitive spread up here in terms of, because you guys of course run Thai boxing, as we mostly talk about pro Muay Thai fights. Your main guy in that space is Kai, but you've got the jiu-jitsu program, doing some MMA. Yeah, well, it's like, let's just...
Yeah, sure.
Give the window in, because we do get questions about this kind of thing sometimes. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A today, so...
It is a Q&A podcast, but like for this session...
Your first question's from me.
At the moment from here, so let me think. We probably have 3 competitive teams up here at the moment, and probably looked to add a 4th in with like MMA. But like, so we have our Muay Thai team for amateurs and pros, as we talked on the podcast, and you've seen people like Kai fight on there. Boxing at the moment, just mainly amateurs at the moment. And like, you know, it's just kind of a little bit of a weird space, I find, to Muay Thai, because like I guess we just know more people there, so you go in there, there's like having a laugh things. But like, you know, even just going yesterday boxing, it's very like I know, it's like there's a certain kind of posturing to everyone.
It's a really different culture. Yeah.
Which is like, it's fine. It's like, you know, I'm not going to read into it too much, but I just know it's different. Or like, you know, when you're doing boxing matches and it's just dead quiet. No one's saying anything.
It is interesting, hey, yeah. And yeah, it's funny.
But yeah, for sure, man. Like, doing the boxing team from there, it's like, that's something I really want to pick up this year for the team. Like, just kind of give them a little bit more love.
And is that you covering the technical coaching for the boxers?
It's myself and Ron from there, but like, it's one of those ones where like I probably just have to steer the ship a little bit more, because you know, it's just hard to focus on a couple of things at once. But I will focus a lot more on that and just kind of get them more in line, like, you know, and
do you ever
train like the Muay Thai team.
Do you ever see yourself building it to a point where like you'd have to bring in an additional boxing trainer?
Yeah, look, for sure. It's like that. You can't control everything, because, like you said, if you try to do everything, then it ultimately kind of fails.
Yep.
From there, but like, I could definitely see bringing someone in, and that probably going off that point, like for the MMA and for the jiu-jitsu, we've brought someone in, working full time here. And
how is that going?
Oh, it's really good. So we have a guy come in. He's got Ishmael Mota. Maybe get him on the podcast one time, because like,
it'd be cool.
It's just the level of experience got is insane. He was the coach of Nate and Nick Diaz under Cesar Gracie. So back in the day when they were fighting, like, you know, people like George St. Pierre and that, he was like one of the coaches under them. Gilbert Melendez, when he was fighting back in I think it was still Pride back then, Pride or even Ryzen. And yeah, just like he's like, he used to be in Abu Dhabi training some of the sheiks over there, and used to be the coach at London Shoot Fighters as well. So
cool, London Shoot Fighters.
It's like, like I said, like the experience he's got is actually just really like almost overwhelming to a point. But he's taken over our program, and I can notice a huge change in that, because like we've got guys competing now. Like, you know, had Jono complete yesterday, first time, came 4th in a 36-person division.
Nice.
And it's had some of the kids on there, Cruz and Jet, won golds and silvers in their ones. It's
was like, that was doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, and grappling industries.
Yeah, we actually had Lazaro. Did
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, how did he go?
He won.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he had 5 matches.
Oh,
5
cool, man.
matches.
Good on him.
Yeah, won 5 times, which is cool. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, but like, but it's pretty cool. And like, I like to pick Ishmael's brain a lot on the certain things. But like, down the pipeline, especially for MMA, I'm gonna have some really good stuff happening pretty soon.
And so, just one more question of that, I guess, is, you guys went as a gym that was historically like a kickboxing gym, and there was definitely a wave of MMA, like when I was a kid, that did sort of fall off a little bit in favour of becoming more of a Muay Thai gym. And then as your programs built out, more participation means more avenues and more programs. Like, how separated are the programs in terms of, will an MMA fighter be mixing in with Muay Thai guys? Will you keep them effectively separate? Does it become a little bit more of a hybridized striking approach? What's your take on that?
Yeah, we try to keep, like, as I kind of see it from there, we'll try and keep them separate as possible from there. But like, like MMA guys just need to be experienced for people that are a little bit more expertise in each single art as well. So we do have like an MMA program. They need to kind of be built out a little bit more.
Yep.
We got a certain amount of days, but kind of going to bring it back a little bit again, because like, guys just need a little bit more experience in each part of it from there. But I do notice now in particular, like the striking is vastly different. Now just kind of like getting back in there, like to do my classes myself, because I want to understand like what actually transfers over, what can you use. But in the past when we had like MMA guys like training a little bit more, and just kind of doing the Muay Thai, what you just have to just do is like, you have to kind of just draw a hard line in the sand, just going, okay, you're here to learn a bit of Muay Thai, that one, but you have to play the game of Muay Thai.
Yep.
Can't be just doing like, basically, hip throws and things like kind of silly shit from there. But because like, it's like, if you're kind of doing that, you're not really kind of taking in what you're trying to like bring up. Yeah,
you have to actually learn something new rather than to pit your style against a different style. You have to enforce parameters. Otherwise, you're not kind of getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah, and really exploring it. Yeah. It's not like you're going to go in jiu-jitsu there and just go. I'm just going. I can punch him. So I'm just going to punch him. Yeah. It's the same as Muay Thai. I'm not going to just go here and just do like basically would be a legal technique in Muay Thai. Even like getting them. I think the most important thing for them, for MMA guy finds, is like the clinching aspect is being comfortable in learning how to strike in the clinch really effectively. Of course, you're going to do a lot of takedown work from there and just kind of run. But like, a lot of them I find are not very actually comfortable striking in the clinch because they're just so wrestling focused. Yeah, it's like a transitionary point rather than an actual place to fight. But like, you just recognize, like, even just looking at Muay Thai clinching it's very similar to Greco-Roman. And then you can look at the hand positions of that, and like, just like knowing when to knee, when to elbow, and that, like, it's like could add heaps to a lot of MMA's guys' game. Yeah, cool. It's interesting. Yeah, cool. So then that's what's going on at the gym at the moment. So I'm looking for a pretty exciting rest of the year. Yeah, to be honest. Cool. All right. So we are doing a Q&A one. Which like, because at the moment you've been doing a lot of the weekend Q&As. Have been really, really successful in terms of like people asking questions, and like, the response you're getting from them seems to be really positive. Appreciate everyone's stupid questions. Dude, I'll have a look through them, and there is like, I see you do like filter them a little bit. Oh, thanks, Matty Williams. Always good to hear from you. Just likes to put like a nice little curveball in there. Yeah. Also, we're going to attack heaps of questions, some that came for the podcast, some that came direct to me. I have not attached who asked the question to the question. I'm sure most people wouldn't mind, but I think it's cool to keep the questions anonymous. Yeah, absolutely. If you know it was your question, you know what you can do? You can cut a clip and post it, and you can tag us, and then we'll repost it. But I really appreciate everyone who... I've been on the Combat Chat Instagram a little bit more recently, just having chats, and I appreciate everyone who gets involved. It's good to chat to people. And I'm like, I like the medium that you're kind of doing at the moment. From there, I think it's really good. Yeah, like there's more. There's always more I want to do with it, but I've really just been trying to focus on just talking to people who listen to the episodes, and that's helping me understand what people want to hear a little bit more. But also, it's nice to make the episodes a little bit more conversational, not just in that we can interview people and we can answer questions, but I can continue to engage with people's responses to things that we say and things that come up. And that's really kind of what the foundation of what the show is just speaking to the community. So I appreciate everyone who gets in touch. And if you listen and you have any thoughts, I encourage you to... And that's positive or negative. I would love to be taken to task for something I said. Also, and look, and if I made a mistake, tell me. Also, I'm happy to. Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So
all right. Shall we go first question? I know the first question off the top of my head anyway, just on the list that I sent through. So it was asking top shows in Australia.
I think it's a cool question, and I don't want to. We've got a lot of great shows in Australia right now, so I could just sit here and read out a list of every single promotion. But let's sort of talk about the promotional landscape in Australia right now. Like, of course, I don't think many would argue that Rebellion is the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
I don't think many promotions would argue with that either. I've fought on Rebellion a number of times. I've been to Rebellion as a fan. I have commentated routes. I've seen the show from a number of different lenses, and it is the gold standard of Australian Thai boxing. It feels professional from the second you get off the plane when you come in as a fighter. It's something that when if you have friends and family coming to watch, they feel like they're at a marquee sporting event. It's an incredible show. It's the kind of it's just these I unfortunately, or not unfortunately, because I was having a good time also, but I was away for the last Rebellion. I would have gone down and it was incredible. Just these little touches like that. Did you watch it live?
Yeah.
The walkouts for Connor versus JP.
Yeah, it was
was so sick. That was so sick.
You got a lot of Connor fans though. They get right into it.
The Irish. Yeah, it's Rebellion, but Rebellion is production value. It's there's nothing else like it. But it's also the additional the long game stuff, like the way that Rebellion builds a stable of stars, and Rebellion has just kind of revolutionized what it is to develop a talent pool. And that's saying, like, you put on the top marquee show, but also build the engine to produce the talent to fill it. And that's from creating roots as, a novice professional show, a show to give guys that big show experience, just dial it back a little bit and let them show what they can do, so that, you've got a good feel for them and you've given them the experience necessary. So when you give that step up, and it's really cool to see fighters wanting to earn the chance to be on Rebellion. Like, that's been a really nice little touch. After a few good showings on routes, they'll be presented with their Rebellion shorts. Yeah, in the ring. I think that's really cool. And you can see, like, the fighters love it. Like, all the fighters want to be on Rebellion.
It's like you said, it's just like little things from there. And I think if we're going to talk about other promotions, like going forward off of this, like how they set the standard, it is like they got a pathway. Like you got Muay Thai Victoria now, and
going back again to the
going
amateurs.
Up. Yeah, I know that Matt Lucas talked about a little bit like reverse engineer, which is like it's really brilliant. But it's just like even said, like even being at the back, it's like everything's done for you.
Work.
It's like when you're gonna be on, you're always told what's gonna be happening. The media that kind of like they produce to build fighters as well is it's such like everything is like such a long term game that of course everyone wants to be on it.
Yeah, it is. And it's a show that, as a fighter, it makes you feel like a real professional athlete. Like the way that you're treated and the way it all kind of runs. Rebellion is as good as it gets. That's from a fan's and a fighter's perspective. And you look at what they've done to fighters that have had their first ever fights on routes, and now all the way up to fighting for world titles, such as Joanne La. Like, that's real elite level homegrown talent. And for what Rebellion's done in 10 years, at the time that Rebellion was starting, it wouldn't have been thought of as possible. So Rebellion is, of course, as good as it gets, but that's not to say that we don't have other marquee shows. Close to home, we've got 1774, which has very, very quickly become a pretty world-renowned show. putting on real international matches. Becomes like kind of a marquee New South Wales professional
it's
show.
one of those shows where like I keep every time I've been on pretty much I think all of them. Where it's like you see the build up happening, and like it's just going, man, I don't know how they're gonna top that one. Like, because like every time you do the fight, like you go, oh, the marquee fight, you go, man, that's really big. It's international most of the time as well, and then they keep outdoing themselves each time.
Yeah, building partnerships really, really well. Like you could see with the Venom Muay Thai team. Youth sports gear is getting behind it. Making a lot of waves in quite a short time, but also doing a really good job of focusing on building, the local stars and kind of creating the right pathways for them to step up to these big international fights. Working very closely alongside the WBC to kind of follow that title pathway. 1774 is doing a great job. Of course, here as well, locally, we've got Siam to Sydney, also one of the top shows. A little bit more grassroots focused, like not the bells and whistles of a Rebellion or a 1774. Yokkau's in New South Wales here as well.
Yep.
Has been more so like the Yokkau Next Generation type shows, so something a little bit more local, but we do see them bring the big...
Yeah, they had that big show.
Yokkau,
and they had Singdam on there.
Like elite ties like Singdam and Superbank. Queensland, you know what I'm really liking in Queensland? Of course, your Eruption for the last few years has been...
Yeah, the OGs.
Yeah, Queensland's marquee, like, that upper echelon. But I think Rise is come on super fast.
They're just putting the right fights on.
Yeah,
they know the scene.
Yeah.
And that kind of, it just shows from like the matches they're putting on there, and like most of these shows from there, like just like how they're making them happen is just amazing.
Yeah, like that, and this will come up in another question, but like that middleweight 4-man is so
I don't know how they got together, but man,
that's
good on happening.
Work. Yeah, so, shot right. There's heaps of shows in Queensland that are really good too. I got to give a shout to Pride Fight Series South Australia because. You've had like Knees of Fury for a long time in South Australia, but I feel it's not, it's not a Muay Thai show.
Yeah, I don't think it ever really was. But like it did have like its time, and like it was really important in terms of the history.
Yeah.
But like now, when you're thinking about like shows that are really kind of busting through this new era and really kind of putting Muay Thai on the map, promotion wise, like Pride is a contender.
And I say just because I was just there, I saw it firsthand what they're doing, and cool venue, really cool vibe, and really investing in proper Thai stylists and making a true Muay Thai show. That's why Pride's got to get a shout. And we've got to go over to, of course, the West Coast has a ton of good shows too. Muay Thai Grand Prix, probably leading the charge there in terms of the international fights and the kind of championship caliber, but like the domination shows super sick as well. I forget the names of a lot of the Perth shows, to be honest, but they're all...
That one, I think the Origin goes every now and again.
Yeah.
Not as like frequent as some of the other shows.
Yeah, and so a bunch of cool shows in WA2. That's probably the top. There's no like. I don't think I might be missing something. If I'm missing something, it's just general forgetfulness. But I think I've covered. So that's kind of like I feel the top sort of stable of shows that are putting on the marquee professional bouts in recent years.
Yeah, nicely. Yeah, it's like it's enough to keep your weekends full most of the time.
You're telling me.
So I guess we're just going to these questions like in the order they're kind of listed here.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess some of them might lead into it as we go along, but I'll just go straight into the next one. So, thoughts on sanctioning bodies having K1 champions, even though K1 is technically in Japan?
This is actually such a funny question.
And it makes sense as well.
Yeah, I like it. To be honest, I don't have heaps of thoughts on it, but you're right. It makes no sense. It's a funny thing. Local sanctions having a K1 championship when K1 is the name of it's the name of a promotion. Like, you don't get to have a K1 champion. Like, you can have a K1 rules champion, but everyone's interpretation of what K1 rules has changed a lot over the years, and everyone's interpretation of what K1 rules means is different. So it actually makes no sense. Like, it's a kickboxing championship. There's no need to affiliate that
Just say
with
kickboxing
K1.
title.
Yeah, like K1 is not a sport. K1 is a promotion that exists to this day.
Yeah.
That's like a really interesting question. And yeah, you're right. I've said this a few. I actually think at some stage over the years we've talked about this. Yeah, you're right. You're fucking right.
You're
it makes
right.
no sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, you're not right. You didn't have a take, but
I know what you're hinting at.
Yeah, I feel like I know where you're coming from.
I just like talked about as we talked about before the podcast. From there, I remember like even Michael Schiavello is talking about it, and he's just saying, just goes like, yeah, you can't call it K1 unless it's in Japan. Like there's no such thing as like K1, like as sort of outside of that.
Yeah.
That hey, people just want to have titles, I guess. So
yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, it's funny because I'm seeing a lot more of it now. For some reason, like, man, it's like my newsfeed is getting filled up with K1 titles here and there. And all amateur shows as well. I'm going,
of course.
I'm going, gross. Yeah. But hey, man, you want to do that? That's fine.
But it is an interesting thing, right? Because people will say that their preference is like, I'm not a Thai fighter, I'm a K1 fighter. But K1 is a promotion, not a rule set. It is a rule set, but like you fight kickbox.
Well, it's like saying this, like I'm like we're New South Wales Glory champion.
Yeah,
it's
glory. And like actually, I've seen sanctions do glory rules.
Okay.
Weird. I don't know. Yeah.
Bad.
Anyway,
get the water bottle out. Those promoters.
Anyway.
All right, going on. Is adding boxing or taekwondo useful to Muay Thai training?
Okay, so I'll give you like I'll start. Simple answer, boxing, yes. Taekwondo, probably not. However, okay, so like, this is like, I just feel having a well-rounded sort of boxing repertoire is super useful in Muay Thai and can be something that can sort of set you apart from the competition, like being able to box. Like a lot of Muay Thai fighters are like don't box especially well, and that's just by nature of there being more elements to the sport. A lot of guys, if you're a big kicker or a clincher or something, you might get away with kind of not having a lot of boxing, but it translates very well, like being able to offensively and defensively.
Yeah, it's like if you take a few like examples of people that do pretty, like Benny Marnie, it's like a boxer. River Diaz. Sorry. Like he does have that style.
Yep.
And he has box as well.
There's a really interesting video that I could find, or you could just find, of Matt Lucas talking to River after he came back from his stint in his more recent stint in boxing, and I think he fought Zach Ineson, and they were just discussing how did you feel like after focusing on boxing really purely and then coming back, and he said it really opened up a whole bunch of new things because it just changed his way of thinking, especially defensively. Like he said, he was moving his head around elbows super differently, like the way that he it just like gave him a different perspective on how to open up the rest of his weapons. So like a more I guess pure boxing game definitely has a place within your Thai boxing repertoire, especially if you are more punch focused. Taekwondo, as is the case with many other sort of traditional martial arts, I wouldn't be advising a fighter to be... Look, I think maybe I'm... this is probably a take that would surprise. I think weapons from all other arts can have a place. Like if I've got a guy coming into the gym and he's like, I've actually done Taekwondo for 12 years, I want to start Muay Thai. First thing I'm going to do is probably be like, completely fucking forget the Taekwondo.
Yeah.
I got to get you standing like this and whatever. But once you have your once we understand that the foundation is completely different, you might have some fucking fancy spinning, jumping, whatever that's got a place. And if you can make it fit the parameters of true Muay Thai, whatever. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. However, if you're just like, my aim is to do Muay Thai and I started with Muay Thai, there aren't really elements of Taekwondo I would be introducing because it scores very differently. It comes from a different stance. It opens you up to attacks that are illegal in a Taekwondo setting. So it's not going to, in terms of in the context of a Muay Thai fight, not really things you would aim for. And they're also it's a sport that is full of maneuvers that are not high percentage in Muay Thai. Muay Thai is an art of efficiency, and you want to aim for the high percentage move. So would it benefit you to like cross train? I would argue no.
Yeah. I'd think like everything. Film study is always a big thing in terms of like, okay, like the boxing I can see because like the tape's out there. Like I've sort of seen guys that do it.
Yep.
But like with Taekwondo, I haven't really seen anyone that's kind of using like those as like really go-to moves that seem successful or has a style as such. No. Not that I know of, you know.
And it's also like, I think if someone comes up to the gym and they're like, I want to do Muay Thai, I've done a ton of Taekwondo, it might not be a matter of like throwing spinning hook kicks. Like just all of that kind of like that experience can help with balance and things that can definitely transfer. It's just that from like a tool set standpoint, I don't think there would be any value in borrowing from it with the express desire to learn Muay Thai. I just don't think it's really going to help.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help.
But then again, I've never tried it.
Hey, you know.
And I won't.
Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
go train it, and then it's like, and then then you can do like where you get the bonus, the crocodile whips its tail.
Well, that's kind of the other thing is like maybe you would call that a Taekwondo maneuver.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Or is it a Muay Baran maneuver?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Who's plagiarizing who? That's the question. Interesting questions though so far. You know? Nice. All right. From there, top gyms in New South Wales.
Sitsoton.
Yeah, Double Dragon.
I mean, like
I know. I'm gonna be biased.
The answers are obviously going to be our own gyms, but like there's we have a few like truly elite Muay Thai stables that hang at the top level in Australian Muay Thai, and that's, you know,
I kind of think of it in like, you know, like fighters is always the case, but also like, you know, just like, you know, reputation as being like a good gym, helping out the scene as well.
Yeah, that's a good take.
So
actually,
that's how I'm trying to see that also. But as you said there, like probably like top 5 for like ticking all the boxes is PTJ. They are the leader.
Yeah, SRG's right way up there.
Let's see.
The aforementioned, of course. I don't know. There's genuinely just heaps.
There is like thinking about teams coming through like Machete.
Yeah,
coming through pretty hot, red hot
as well.
Yeah. But yeah, like they're like we're in a really good time right now in New South Wales.
We are.
You know, it's like, you know, like how you know, Queensland back in the day, that was the place to be. Like, you know, and you had all the shows for that. I think New South Wales, we're going through that right now.
Like the style in New South Wales, and I've been on this tirade before, is fucking sick. Because like I say this a lot. Like I train at Sitsoton. We are like about 8 minutes in the car from SRG.
Yeah.
Between those two gyms, there's about 10 elite Thai trainers. Like the presence of high level Thai trainers in Sydney is absolutely fucking unbelievable. And we're not the only ones.
No.
You know, like, and it's not to say like only the gyms that have Thai trainers are making moves, but just in terms of that stylistic influence, and that and that doesn't just impact the gyms that have Thai trainers. It's the way that it kind of, there's a flow-on effect for the styles that you see in the scene, and what people have to kind of build towards to compete. You know, like there's a couple of good Thai trainers down the road from here at SPC. That's a stone's throw from here. Cabra Muay Thai, new gym.
Yeah,
it's got a couple of high-level Thais that we've seen fight. Like, there is a lot of elite Thai presence on the scene at the moment, which helps. Like, I think the scene is, our fighters are very competitive at a national level on the major shows, which was not always the case. And also just the style. Like, I'm a nerd and I care about the style, and it's really coming along very well. And you can see this on our junior days. Yeah. And the future is super bright.
Those kids are absolute guns.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, you can see in the junior days. You can see also like because you got the youth worlds coming up from there, and the list of guys coming from there. And there's a fair few like New South Wales people going as well. Like that's awesome. Like you never used to see that.
Yeah. And like when I started at like a junior age, and there was like a lot of time where I I kind of just couldn't really compete. Like there wasn't heaps of options because you couldn't. And we would look, and it was just kind of like we were sort of just waiting in the wings because there wasn't like
had to do K1 fights.
Yeah, yeah. There wasn't like an amateur format, like a truly amateur format of that kind of like pat them up and let them build a style. Everyone went straight into the sort of professional format. And, you know, you could shave years off juniors' careers by sending them in there too early, but you'd also inhibit their ability. Like that kind of development, you know, structured program is very important for building style because you don't get these guys in this full fight or flight from the very first time they go out and compete. You give them a chance to test things out and really fight to build style, and that's like parts of having, you know, an inter-club element. Like when you got kids, like we really don't need them trying to knock each other's heads off. Take that time when they're young to emphasize building proper foundation and make it like a technical display almost. Like encourage them to play the game and then let them step by step add power and start to make it a fight after they understand the art at a foundation level. Like I think that's a very good way to build truly competent stylists, and it's not about like just making it look pretty. It's about making them be able to competently and confidently use real Muay Thai in a real sports setting when the time comes. So I think the junior work's been super cool, and just the presence of elite ties in New South Wales. In Australia at large, but New South Wales especially, it's very highly concentrated. I think we're really lucky.
Yeah, like if you're living anywhere in New South Wales at the moment, you can probably find some really good Muay Thai pretty close to you. Yeah, be thankful for that. Well, just going off the top of my head, like without reading the questions, I know like this probably kind of helps get into it. So one of the questions was like, how does the Australian amateur scene relate in terms of experience-wise, and how it does on it internationally against like someone like UK?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
really, really good question. And I feel structurally, okay, a big problem that we have in Australia is all the states not doing the same thing. However, most of the states, even if there's slight differences, are doing the right thing. Like I think Victoria's leading the way with the Muay Vic that we just described earlier. I think New South Wales has more or less adopted that model. Yeah, so pretty much. I'd say we're pretty much on the same page, bar a couple of little differences. Yeah. I think the Australian amateur progression scene is really, really good, and I do believe it's world class. I do. I think this is how you produce world beaters from like that development level. I think the challenge that we're always going to have is just participation. We just don't have that many people. So we've got this awesome structure and awesome format that will develop even more as we get higher participation rate within Australia. But even there, just based on population and kind of spread, the ceiling's always going to be low compared to some of these other countries, because like I've spent time in various parts of Europe and the UK just observing how they do Muay Thai, and it's like, oh, we've got these 15 juniors, we're going to jump on a train and go to France this weekend for a big tournament. And like Australia, it's difficult to do that. You know, like
travel's hard.
Travel is hard. It requires, you know, investment. Like especially I look at it from, well, that's actually an important decision. Amateurs are not necessarily juniors. But it's, I think of it from like the starting out thing is how we get kids involved, because that's a big part of how we produce elite level fighters. Because that's, to bring it back to the question, is that's what's going on in other parts of the world, is people are starting to train and compete at 10 years old and they're given a realistic pathway. You are kind of limited to your own local talent pool. So when you've got what we've got now is this development C, B, A class structure, which is incredible and what we need. It's not like you can have 30 fights in C and B classes before you take the pads off, which would be awesome. And also just because you'd be fighting the same person 25 times. So it doesn't make that much sense. It's a little bit more like get your feet wet and then take the pads off, which is fine. We're making do with what we've got. But it's also that, you know, even to traveling to state is considerably more work than some of these other parts of the world it is to get into a different country. And in these other parts, it's amazing when you go to other parts of the world where, you know, you're a 2-hour drive from a whole other country that has a distinctly different style of Muay Thai. And you can experience all of that and throw all these different matches together, and you can see a lot more. That's the advantage that they have. But we have our own advantages too, such as proximity to Thailand. It's a little bit easier for us than some of these other parts of the world to get to Thailand, and also we have a higher presence, as we said, of Thais here. So do I think Australia's amateur program is on par with the rest of the world? I absolutely do. I think it's developing, and I think we are still settling into a model that's only been quite recently developed. But I do think it's on par with the rest of the world. I think the next few years are going to be massive. It's just there are additional challenges.
Yeah, and
for us as Australians.
And I think that where you can see it being tested as well is like things like the IFMAs. So when you see especially the under 23s and juniors, things like that, the elites, you might be fighting like Capitan. So that's not really good, litmus test. But when you look at under 23s, how the team went from there in terms of just a small group of athletes, they're medaled pretty well. Yeah. And I think we're only on the trajectory upwards also. So you can look at those type of events to see how are we actually stacking against other countries, and the kind of proof's really there. We do pretty good for what we got.
Yeah, and once you you sort of equate population size, amount of government funding, things like that. We do excellently. We do well just at a surface level, and you really start to get into all the details. Yeah, I think we do really, really well. So
nice. Yeah, another good question again. Excellent. All right, so back to the list again. So thoughts on one championship deal with Seven, and what will it do for the sport?
I like it.
I just who watches Seven?
This is
that's my
I like it. I got a lot of I'm not talking into the microphone. That would be helpful. I got a lot of messages. This is amazing. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. And I think just the logo still means something.
Yeah.
So to see Thai boxing with the Channel 7 logo, it definitely still means something. And it definitely is indicative of a step forward in the eyes of the mainstream. A whole nother thing about whether or not you really consider that Muay Thai, it's MMA as well. Whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I think it's a positive thing. However, no one asked me a question not expecting a somewhat cynical response. So what I said as soon as I saw this, let's just be 100% straight. It's not on Channel 7. Turn on your TV. It's not there. No. It's buried in the app, which is fine.
It's 7+.
7, yeah, whatever the fuck that is. So yeah, cool. And it's cool, and you get a little bit of, Channel 7's social media sites post entire highlight stuff. Mad. But you're not going to find this programming unless you are specifically looking for it. So it's actually not doing heaps for the exposure. It's just also, it used to be for free on YouTube. So you're actually taking, one of the largest media platforms on earth, YouTube, and you're actually making it less accessible. You're pulling it away. So, yes, it's cool to be associated with Channel 7, 100%. However, is ease of access not the best thing for exposure at times?
If you put in one hurdle to something that used to be free or easy, I saw people just go, nah.
Yeah, and
they just won't do it.
It's still free, right? But you have to get an app and make an account. And this is a well-studied area. Any barrier to entry when you interact with something digitally is awful for viewership and attention. It's just you put one sticker, one landing page, one login, and less people watch. So I do think it's good. Do I, from the few weeks that we've been doing it, it's been happening, think it's going to do tons for the exposure? I'd love to say yes, but I think it's kind of even Steven.
I think you'd have to lean towards same thing, getting back on Fox again. Even though same thing. Does people do a cable now? But even things like KO, that, something that's just it just needs that step further.
What helps exposure is putting it in front of people that otherwise wouldn't have seen it, and that's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but again, it can be a foundation thing. When it comes to getting government funding and recognition, having the classic media brands on board does help a lot with just general public perception. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's just, to be honest, it's not necessarily as good as it sounds.
Yeah. It makes me think that, like, you know, what, how would you get onto these other platforms? But it's really that, you know, they have to have an incentive. Like, is it going to bring a bigger viewership to their channel?
Yeah, and it's that, you know, it's on there, a little bit difficult to access, not widely advertised, and then you could say, well, look, we tried putting Muay Thai on Channel 7 and no one's watching. It's like, who's got to do the work here? Exactly. You know, but it's cool. It's a cool thing. It is a cool thing. I was happy to see it when it was announced. It's just, I'm a cynic, so.
Exactly. Okay, so going from there, how did Muay Thai get introduced to Australia?
You know what? Actually, thank you for that question. It's a really good one. Park it.
Yeah.
Because I am in the really, really early stages of a project to answer that question really comprehensively, and it's not something I can do. So thank you for that question, and I'm glad you asked it. But stay tuned for that, because it's a long story. It's a really long story, and I need a lot of people's help to tell it. But yes.
Nice.
Knowing me, talk to you about it in 2 years.
Yeah. There's like sort of a book deal and
no, I'm working on it, and it is like something I pick up and put down, but it's a big undertaking, but we're working on it.
Because I looked at it a little bit at the time. It's huge.
It's big, and it'll surprise you actually. It's like it's big. Honestly, it is a somewhat untold story.
Oh yeah.
And it's an often incorrectly told story. So I'm working on it. And like, this is shit I wasn't even alive for some of it. So I have to, there's a lot of ways to take this back to the source. And
cool.
As you can imagine, a lot of the pioneers that we've talked to over the years are going to contribute to this and have their little take. So this is something I want to do. I want it to be done. I think there's a really good chance I'm going to be the one to do it, at least from a front and center perspective. I need a lot of people's help, but yes, I mean, if someone else is the one to do it, that's cool too. But I've been contacted a little bit about getting this underway, and we're working on it. So
cool.
Park it for now is the answer, and I'm really excited.
Nice. Okay, so looking back at Combat Chat podcast from starting out until now.
Cool question.
Yeah. Wow. That's it. Like, how long now? Was it 5 years?
While,
6 years? Yeah. Well, I think like the initial concept was there. So like,
I didn't have any tattoos in episode 1.
Yeah, do now. We didn't have it in YouTube even back then as well.
But go on.
Yeah, just like, it started off as a concept of like, like a bit of a gym kind of talk, like, how things are going in the gym and whatnot, and talking about like, just like Australian combat sports a lot as well.
Well, it was kind of like a community building idea, right? Like, it was, we would make the podcast, and it was from memory, like in the ideas phase, it was like we were always trying to, it was almost like a reading list for gym members. Like, here's the fights we watched and here's what happened, and just give people another way to engage. And that was like the first audience base, but we always made it public. I mean, like, it had to be public. Like, people get it on iTunes and stuff, and other people were listening too, which was cool. But I feel over time we kind of just really dialed in on that niche.
Yeah,
well, Muay Thai was my point of interest. I didn't really. That was kind of like why I was here anyway. Was just to do the Muay Thai perspective, and I think like that was also where we both, in our own way, were like growing our individual presences, and that's where most of our conversations were taking place. So when we started to do guests, which was largely just in lockdown, really, because there was no fights on. So I think.
We had a few guests like outside of lockdown.
No, we did. Yeah,
I just can't. I was trying to figure who was the first one. I don't even remember now.
I think it was Andrew.
Andrew Barnett. Oh, the OG.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think our first dial-in guest was Brian Popejoy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And first dial-in, like international.
Yeah.
Which was pretty. That was pretty cool. Yeah. We did it first.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I think. And then there was like it's always been, I think in a lot of ways, like, we just were happy to learn live and are still learning live. Like, it's not like we wanted to, like, we would have never started doing it if we waited until we got it right to share it.
Yeah, no, it was like, we just started off really just like just off the old Mac.
Yeah, and that's an
that's
attitude
it.
I would apply to anything creative. Is like, don't keep it to yourself until it's ready, because it gets ready by being published.
Well, it's a lot of like
created.
this stuff. Like, you know, when I was researching it a bit, from there, it's like, you know, you need like about 40 YouTube videos before anything starts going, and
Yeah.
same thing like podcasting as well. And it's more so, it's not like because you just gain numbers on the board.
Yeah.
It's like you get used to kind of finding what you're about, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how, like, you know, what is your style creatively as
And
well.
that's also like, I think what you've kind of got to realize is like, there's lots of things we could do to just get more clicks. Like, it's very formulaic, but we've always been pretty committed to speaking to quite a direct audience, and that is not the biggest audience in the world.
Nah.
But I think that's added to the importance of what we've done. Like, I feel proud that we have told some stories within our Thai boxing community that were otherwise untold and add value. And these are episodes that can be around forever.
Yeah, well-
Effectively, people can go and find these stories long after we record them. And it gives me the chance to get to know people a lot better.
Well, that's
and
it.
Get
Like,
to know the sport a lot better.
it's like, you know, would we ever have known or become friends with people like Nugget or like Pinky or like people like in his states if it wasn't for this podcast?
Certainly not. And like, the biggest thing about the podcast for me is, especially recently as I've been traveling around, and that's what's opened a lot of the doors for me to do some of the things I've done at shows, is through doing this show, is like the way that it has been appreciated is pretty incredible for what is quite a small and quite a humble undertaking. And there's lots more I'd love to do with the show. It's just like we're both pretty pressed for time, and we prioritise. Well, I mean, you do all the work, but both prioritise.
I don't like doing a lot of the mic.
We both prioritise just getting it out and not focus too much on having the perfect content strategy and stuff. Because like, I sit down and I think about it and I write out plans and things like that. And the reality is, like, I just don't have the hours in the week all the time. But I think it's been to come back to the question, like, it's been a really, really good experience. Like, I think it's helped me in a lot of ways outside of Thai boxing professionally. It's helped me as a communicator.
Yeah.
And has really just given me a lot of, like, it's introduced me to a lot of people, and I hope we continue to do it. I hope people continue to listen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been cool.
It has been cool, and it's like, yeah, I don't see it stopping anytime soon. It's like it seems like in particular, like the last 6 months has been really busy for us.
Yeah,
like,
look, the last 6 months have been pretty.
we used to like really pride ourselves like every week, you know,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
always no
yeah.
stuff. But like, yeah, it's like everything changes a bit from there. But like, but no, I love getting on here and talking to new people, and it's like seeing brand new faces as well.
Well, that's kind of like to that point. That I was like, a lot of the things that the podcast like open the door for me to do now make it harder to do the podcast. You know, but that's why, like, it is a disciplined thing. Like, you've got to be like, right, that's the time that we're gonna sit down and record, because you have to keep doing it, because all of a sudden you fly around to commentate and see this show and that show, and it's cool, and then there's no show, and then there's no invite.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's because like, especially with our podcast, we don't really do put a lot in the bank for future episodes, because it's very like week to
an
week
on-the-spot job. Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff happens every week.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, trying to keep up to date with
But
it.
I think the experience of recording this many episodes has really set me up for what I can do when I have a little bit more time, and that would be like when I'm not actually actively competing myself. So I just, the practice that we get, even if we can't do it perfectly now, I think the practice that we get is invaluable for when the time and the situation allows for us to do it.
Yeah.
The way maybe we'd like to. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Let's keep it rolling. So let's just go a few couple, and then we'll go for the one more personal to you. Seeing that you did me, so you know, went up with the Hugh questions as well. There's a couple here that, as like you were telling me beforehand, that we're gonna get them on, like, you know, things like Forts and Rebellion 70 kilo 8-man coming through.
yes, park that too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'll just give my thoughts. I think it's fucking sick. I think it's like
I think that's like, you know, like, no shit, yeah, of course, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think like Rebellion does a good job of having a look and seeing what's the hot weight class, and I think that's the one. There's a lot of top end guys,
Yep.
both in Australia and internationally. I think the Australian guys at 70 are really, it's an international caliber division, so you can bring in some very interesting talent to test them. And
It's interesting though, because like when we do get onto track and on talking about that, like,
Yeah.
but you could like, man, the pool's so deep that you could all do Australians if you really wanted.
You
to.
could do an all. You could do an all Aussie a 70 kilo.
And it'd be- that's world class still.
Hectic, and there'd be lots of guys that had fought each other, and like lots of storylines, and I love an 8-man. It's like the Rebellion 8-man in particular holds a really special place in my heart just from watching them, but also as like an old school kind of K1 fan. The Grand Prix 8-man format, I just love it. I love the stories that come out. I love the drama. It's a beautiful concept. It's going to be so sick.
And like, it goes into like which fights you're looking forward to the rest of the year. Like most of them are like the tournament styles.
The tournaments, the 8-man I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the Rise 4-man. Of course, Cody versus Jay.
That's happening just before
That's
the
happening
format.
before the 4-man, which is
Crazy.
I heard a rumor about a wolf and a shark later in the year.
For that.
What else is even on? I know some stuff I can't tell you. Yeah, the end of the year is looking like end of the year, second half. How are we halfway through the year? Yeah, it's been a big first half of the year.
It has been. It's, like,
Second half
it's only
is
getting
looking
bigger.
huge. Yeah, that's the main ones for me.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's just go finish off a few questions. That's for Hugh.
Yes.
So what's
I
it?
got some questions.
Got some
directly.
questions. We'll go with this one here. What's been the best and worst moment of your Muay Thai journey? It's still going though.
Yeah, I mean, I you know what, you learn, anyone who's spoken to me at length knows, like, just don't ask me a question because you won't get a real answer. I feel, to ask me what the best and worst moment of a journey is taken away from the fact that it's just a journey. Like, I don't want to look at my Muay Thai career as, like, you know, like, transactionally enough to just be like, this was the good part and this was the bad part. Because, and I actually was speaking a lot to, like, someone I care a lot about the other day, and kind of just explaining that I feel the more fights you have and the more moments that you have, the more you kind of learn to appreciate them all as just moments. And like, I have so much more to do, but I've had a lot of fights now, and as you have more and more fights, each fight is less of your career. You know what I mean? Like, when you've had one fight, that one fight was the be all and end all. When you've had 10, each individual fight, it's just a smaller piece of a bigger puzzle. And I always think as well that, like, I can think of so many times that at the time were really, really fucking terrible. And I've had some really, really bad fights. I've had trips away that I just really felt like I embarrassed myself. I have been hurt badly. Everyone's seen it, right? I had some bad times, but I also had really good times that I wouldn't have had if not for the you know, every bad time made you the person that you are, just like the good times did. Sometimes you got to go through the bad a little bit to earn what is that, like when you have that moment with the big win, the big one that like you know, a career defining victory, the one that people thought you couldn't get, or you know, the price that you paid was all the times that you called a bad moment. So don't take those from me either. Like, you want that moment of like, wow, I did it. That wouldn't feel the same if not for all the times when things weren't so good. So to say the best and the worst, I have lots of highlights, but there's no worst. I needed it all. I've always gone head first into every challenge that I had, and I'm grateful for every lesson. So the best and the worst, I think to me, that's not how I want to view it. I just have lots and lots and lots of lessons learned. But you can't let the good times be too good, and you can't let the bad times be too bad. You just got to roll on. Again, it's not really an answer, but that's my answer.
It's just life advice.
Yeah. Take that as you will. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. Talk about the new trainers at Sichuan.
Oh, cool question.
And the dynamic working with Thai trainers compared to Westerners.
Yeah, cool question. I enjoyed this one. So yeah, it's interesting, right? And like, I have had a couple of questions just around kind of the idea. Like, we have just like become a Muay Thai factory. It's
the new Thai town.
Yeah. So to lay it out, so you got like most in New South Wales know, like Citaton opened, owned, operated by Aram Trujillo Diaz. He now has 2 businesses. He's got a gym here in Sydney, in Arncliffe, and also where he lives is down Shell Harbour Way. So has another gym in Albion Park. He's actually is split across both gyms and is playing a little bit more of a head coach role now. And he's got on-the-ground coaches at both. So in Albion Park, he has Krunat Mongkol Tong from Simbi Muay Thai assisting him with the fighters there. And in Arncliffe, where the member base is a little bigger, alongside Aram, who also we have Michael Green, a well-known kind of trainer and also referee and promoter. Elias Delapsis, another well-known referee, does a bit of training at kind of general level. Of course, Lazaro Rochas helps Aram as well. With the fighters, we have Chet Fairtex, who was previously... He spent a decade as Yodsan Klai's main trainer, so very well-known in Thailand. Cornered Yodsan Klai for some of his biggest fights. It was just Chet for the last year, and things have kind of ramped up a little bit. We needed a few more hands. So about 3 weeks ago, we got Kru Ot, whose fight name was Prakasang Gayankadal, a former 2-time Omnoi Stadium champion and Toyota Marathon champion. So wicked resume, has fought and beaten Kem Sitsong Pinong, has a win over Yodsan Klai on his record. Really, really elite level fighter. Also really good because he's a little bit bigger. Like he's about my size. He's a little heavier than me right now, but he shouldn't be. But yeah, and had a clincher knee style when he was fighting. He also fought in his day out of the Sit-All camp alongside his brother, his Pet Man Kong, who a lot of people recognize from mostly from, he's in Singapore right now, but held pads for a long time at the Yokkao gym. And there's a lot of really cool videos of him training Liam Harrison. So they were training together at Sit-All. That was also the gym of Nong O's formative years. So he was a close training partner of Nong O. So yeah, really elite level. We also last week took on Wanchalom Chanajan, who a lot of people in Australia have trained with over in at Revolution at Tim Fisher's gym. He's actually a little bit younger than the other two and still fighting actively. Has been fighting in Japan and will fight in Australia. Nice. More of a femur stylist and an awesome trainer himself. So yeah, we've got an elite stable of not just the Thais, like our Australian and Chilean and Canary trainers are really good too. But
it is a melding pot.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. So to get into the training dynamic, I think... So I have Aram on hand half the week. Half the week Aram's there, so his kind of role is a little bit less actually wearing the pads and kind of giving oversight to the Thais. They study together and he gives them like a general direction. He's like the boss and the Thais offer their insight as they go. We train very Thai style, so we kick pads with the trainer. The guys who are fighting, like the pro fighters, will, like when I'm fighting, I don't really hold pads. I just kick pads with the trainer and work kind of directly. Given we have so many trainers, it's awesome. Like you can take the guys who are in fight camp and just be sort of focusing on them. Yeah, so you got like Aram as the boss kind of observes when he's there and gives like the overarching advice for the Thais to take and sort of, I guess, operationalize, and they do the day-to-day side of it. And the other cool thing about having the Thais, especially a guy who's my size, like Ott, is I can clinch. So where the Thais instruct class and things, I think a lot of what I get out of working with the Thais is we clinch and we spar, and you just get that kind of hands-on with some of that kind of experience and just that strength. How does, that was the end of the question, right? How does it training with Thais differ to training?
The Westerners.
It does differ. It differs. Oh, I mean, like, there's definitely a quite uniquely Thai style to training. So, and to be honest, there can be sticking points between even what Aaron wants me to do and what the Thais want me to do. Like, they love me running. I also love running, so I have to kind of be reined in a little bit. They're quite formulaic of everything every day. I also feel like I think all the trainers are quite modern and also they're very used to training Westerners, and that's from coming through that kind of revolution sort of camp, and Nat down at Simbi has worked with a lot of Westerners, kind of understands the differences, you know, in just that we haven't been training since we were 6 years old and had 200 fights and kind of have to be managed a little bit differently. I think a classic kind of Thai training format often doesn't really factor in an idea of like kind of like progressive load. So it's not like adding, it's just like, oh, you're fighting, you're going to do this much from the get-go, and it can be a little bit, you've got to manage that burn a little bit. But I think in that sense, like communication is quite important. Like you just got to be like, look, I'm too tired to, or not, or like I speak to the Thais a lot. I say, oh, I'm really kind of sore today, and they might not, but they might just like, okay, Ned, today we relax. Today, you know, like it's that as is always the case. It's just like communication's really important because they will really load it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's their methods can be a little bit different, but it's Muay Thai.
Yep.
Yes, you know, they just have that added level of detail. I think it's funny to see the Thais, given that we have a big group of them now, they have established this little like business amongst themselves with Chet as the boss, and he kind of instructs what he wants from the other Thais. Is the concept of a check fit.
Oh, yeah?
Being in play, and a check fit is because we. A check fit is, as the name suggests,
Yeah.
you're going to check someone's fitness. And in a Thai gym, the check fit will involve, and Matt Lucas also has done a video on this recently.
Oh, yeah.
But the check fit is something that happens like right before you fight, and often for a big fight in Thailand, the media is there. So check fit is the media will, because that's going to influence kind of like gambling and things like that. Let's go and see. But it also is like kind of an ongoing thing. So like today I was at training for a really long time, and given it was a public holiday, they said, oh, no work today. I said, yeah, no work. So, today check fit. Can sleep. Cool. Check fit is just this idea. So, Chet instructs Wan Chalom, who's holding pads for me, today check fit. And it means really just drive the volume way up and just test how fit you are and how strong your body is. So, it was lots of like, just, okay, this after pads, this last round's just going to go to be you doing sets of 10 kicks for the whole round, and then you're going to do this on the bag, and then I'm going to punch you in the body a lot to see if it's strong. Like just little things like that are very uniquely Thai. It's interesting to see done, but I don't know that training is super different. It's just we're really lucky to have this amount of experience. Yeah.
Nice. It works in well. Let's see. What do you do for work outside of Muay Thai? What does a usual day look like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a question I've actually had a few times. So, I thought it would be interesting to do. So, a lot of people ask if I work in the gym. I don't. So, I'm not. I do teach classes, but I teach classes not on any kind of fixed schedule. And it is purely out of enjoyment. Like, I like teaching. Teaching Muay Thai is my favorite thing to do, really. I actually work. I have I have just like a full on corporate 9 to 5 outside of Muay Thai, which seems to surprise people. So I work for an IT company, effectively in like a sales account management sort of role. It's pretty cool. It's all right. Yeah. So like it's pretty busy. It's pretty full on. It's a pretty full on gig. Like I'd be busy with that if I wasn't training. So I do get, pretty. I have a lot on it. It's something it's important to manage correctly. What was the second part of the question?
Let's see. What does a usual day look like?
Oh, what does a day look like? Cool. So I train twice a day. The morning is majority solo, but it does change. So I do strength and conditioning in a hybrid format with Ethos Performance. So that's most of my mornings kind of governed by the coaches there. So once a week I go out to Silverwater and check in with the coach there and do my strength session guided. The other days I just am in the weights room at Sisaton training remotely. So we do some stuff by video and I follow a program, which is cool. When I'm not in the weights room, I'm only in the weights room twice a week. The other days I have like kind of additional conditioning. So I tend to prefer to be out on the road or in the field where possible. So if it's a kind of interval work, if I can do that running, I'll do running just because it's my preference. So that'll be guided by heart rate zones and time and just whatever the metric I'm given on the program is. And I often do, once I've done... To be honest, my afternoons, my priority, so the morning I manage, I've got my boxes to tick and I try to be careful about what extra I need. So if I'm feeling good, I do some skill work in the morning too. I like to shadow box in the morning when I've got a little time just to do... I like to take the session the night before and use the morning to kind of have like a solo session on it. I think that's a good way to learn things. So I do bag work and shadow in the morning, but not with the intensity of the afternoon skill work. Because then I go from the gym, I shower most of the time. I clean up and put my nerd clothes on and go to the office for the day until should be 5, but until I'm done. Then I go back to the gym, and then the gym's like full. The afternoon is Thai style, so it's like I often start with a run, unless I'm doing what I'm told, and then skipping, drill work, whatever the day is, pad work, clinching, sparring, all that jazz. I'm generally in the gym in the afternoon from 4:35 until 8:30. And then home to sleep. So that's a day. That's morning, kind of like quiet conditioning driven and pure skills focus if I'm doing that, and work a 9 to 5, and then it's a Thai style afternoon.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's just go one more, because I think the other questions we kind of covered before in our other podcasts from there. But yeah, when will we see you back in the ring? Have you been taking a break on purpose, or have you just been between matches?
Soon. And yeah, I took a bit of a break. I didn't really put a hard... I had a lot of fights in a really short period of time, and for a number of reasons, I was under a lot of pressure, and I was just... Something had to give eventually. I took a pretty tough loss last time out, and it was a pretty good time to take a break anyway. So I just had to... I had some things to fix physically, like with my body, that are doing better. I had to take care of my health a little bit. So yeah, I did take a break. Not like with a defined end. I just was not actively looking for matches for a period of time. I'm back in full training camp, and look, to be honest, my training volume didn't change a lot. It was just like I would start to give little bits of additional time. Like I said earlier, I don't hold pads heaps. I was holding pads a lot, so I would heat pads and hold pads. And so I'm in the gym majority of the same hours. I kept doing strength and conditioning, and I've really I feel have kind of rebuilt from like a foundation sort of place, which is great. You need to do that sometimes. It's a lot of cutting weight and training camps over a long period of time it's you can manage it, but it can start to kind of pull away. It's nice to come at these things from a base level sometimes. And yeah, I just had to, I had to, sustainability's never been my strong suit, to be completely honest. And I just was like, I was burning the candle at both ends, as I have done many, many, many times. Since I was pretty young, to be honest. And I get to these bad periods where I convince myself I can do more than is really possible. And to be honest, I wasn't... Like, everything that I do is because I love Muay Thai. And I always love Muay Thai. I always want to do it. If I don't do it, I'm not happy. But I wasn't... That's my guiding sort of ethos. However, I wasn't enjoying every individual day. I wasn't having fun at the gym. I wasn't. And I just had to look at it like... I started to... For a few, we had a lot going. We had a really tough stretch of a lot of things going on around the gym. That it was different, and managing my professional life alongside my fighting life is hard. And the pressure started to really chip away at me, and I kind of kept telling myself the right thing to do is just to put your head down and go forward, rather than somewhat strategically easing up a little bit sometimes. So I had to just look at it and be like, you're really actually not having fun at all. And some parts of this are always not going to be fun, but you should have fun. And I just had I wrestled a lot with the idea of I need a break, I need to be out of the gym for a while, but I don't like that. And that's that's not a bad thing, but you have to still be involved in a way that you're having some fun and then come back at it when you're ready to enjoy it again. And that's where I feel now. Yeah, I've got a really busy end of year lined up, which is how I like it. I slowed down a little, but yeah, I chose to take a break, and the last little bit's just been a bit of figuring out what's next, looking for things to do, and I've got a few things locked in now, which is cool. So you'll see me back soon, pretty soon actually, and yeah, that's that.
Yeah, it's like can't underestimate the power of having a sabbatical.
Yeah, and I was probably due. So
So now I'm ready to go. All right, so that'll do it for this week. I appreciate all the questions from there. It was like it was a sizable amount, and that probably wasn't even like half of them.
I've got more to do.
Yeah.
I've got more to do, and I will do them. If you've asked me a question and it didn't suck and it didn't get answered, I will get to it. I've got plans.
Yeah, nice. Excellent. All right, guys. But thanks again for listening to us. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Going to hit that goal 1,000.
Yes.
Also, share the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well, 5-star ratings. And until next time, we'll see you.
See ya.
Peace.